today's chapter is Project Integration Management. This is the first knowledge area that I will be covering today out of the 10 knowledge areas that we have. Now let's see what are the learning goals for Project Integration Management. We learn about the project charter, how to develop the project charter, what are the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs, develop project management plan, direct and manage project work, monitor and control project work, perform integrated change control, and finally learn how to close the project or phase. If you look in here, this knowledge area has a total of 6 processes. Again, all those 6 processes are listed over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Finally, we will be learning the economic models for selecting a project. And then we'll have some questions and answers related to this knowledge area. Now, I would like to tell you something about how this is going to work. I've already told you guys about the different color codes that we have. Green is from the initiating process group. The color orange is from the planning process group. Blue is from the executing process group. Red is from the monitor and control. And yellow is from the closing process group. Now, when we go individually into each and every process, then we have to see how we are going to remember the inputs, tools and techniques, and outputs. Just to make it easier for us to remember and take a mental picture of how I set up this sheet, all the inputs throughout the whole 47 processes are going to be underlined like you see over here. All the tools and techniques are going to be in italic, and all the outputs are just going to be in normal font. Now let's understand first what is Project Integration Management. So what Project Integration Management system is, it integrates all of organizations' systems and processes in one complete framework, which enables the organization to work as a single unit with a unified objective. Now, what this system does is it allows the management team to create one structure that can help to effectively deliver organization objectives. So it integrates all the processes like initiating, planning, executing, monitoring and controlling, and how we are going to close the project into one knowledge area. So let's go to the first process. Again, this is in the initiating process group, and it's called Develop Project Charter. Now let's see what we have in the Develop Project Charter. We have 5 inputs, 2 tools and techniques, and 1 output. Now starting with the first input, which is Project Statement of Work. Now we have to know what is a project statement of work, what is it used for, and who initiates the statement of work. So the project statement of work is a description of the work or service that has to be delivered by the project. Now, who is the person who is responsible for providing the statement of work? Now, this is for internal projects. It is going to be initiated by the project initiator, or most probably it is the sponsor who provides the statement of work. But when it comes to an external project, it is received from the customer. So now this could be a question on your exam, giving you a certain scenario where they will let you know if it is an internal project or an external project. And then they will ask you to select who is the person who is going to give the statement of work. So you should know if it's internal, then it's the project sponsor or the project initiator. And if it's an external project to the organization, then it comes from the customer. Now again, what is this? It is a description of work or service that is to be delivered by the project. Now let's go to the second input. Now the second input is the business case. Now what is the business case? Why is it important? Why do we need the business case to develop the project charter? Now the reason why we should have a business case is because we should know why is the project being done. It will describe the project purpose and justification. On what financial or other basis can we justify doing this project? Do we have enough money to do this project? Or is there an other reason for doing this project? Is there a market demand? Is there a customer need? Is there organization need? Is there a customer request? Is it for a technological advancement, a legal requirement, ecological impact, or a social need? Now these are all the reasons why the project is made or the project is done. Now again, you could have questions on the business case. Everything that I go in here, you have to make sure is you have to understand first what topic are we covering, and you have to try to make questions in your head, thinking what question can be asked on this topic. So what is the business case used for, or what is the business case needed? When do we have a business case? Why do we have a business case? It's mainly to give a reasoning or a justification for the project undertaking. And mostly it's because of a market demand, a customer need, organization need, customer request, technological advance, legal requirement, ecological impacts, and social need. Now let's cover the third input, which is agreements. Now, what is an agreement? It is more like a contract. Now, when you go register online on different websites, you always have to give a certain consent or sign a certain agreement, right? You do the checkbox and I agree to all the policies and procedures, and that's how you go ahead. So it is more of a legally binding document between two parties. So if one of the parties is not standing up to the agreement, then they can be taken to court, and then the problem could be resolved. So you have used these agreements in your life, throughout your life, in so many different areas. So it's basically the same agreement, but it's between two parties in which one is giving the service and the other one is accepting the service by paying the other party some money. It is used only in case if the project is done for an external vendor. So for example, if the project is within the company, then we really don't need the agreement. But the second the project is for a customer that's outside of the company, then yes, you will need an agreement. Now an agreement can be of different forms. It could be a letter of agreement. It could be a letter of intent saying that, oh, we intend to buy your services. It could be a verbal agreement. It could be a written agreement, or it could even be an email. It could be a service level agreement where you agree to all the services that you are going to provide in your project. The best form of agreement is a written agreement. Even a verbal is a kind of an agreement, but a written agreement is the best kind of agreement. Why? Because it's legally binding, and if the party takes you to court, then you have something written. When it is verbal, then it is always tough to fight in court. Now let's go to the input number 4 and input number 5, which are enterprise environmental factors and organizational process assets. Now, the main difference between these two are enterprise environmental factors are something that are standards, that are something that cannot be changed, something that we have to live with as project managers. But on the other hand, organizational process assets is something that gets updated while we are working on the project. It is always updating. It is a work in progress. So let's see some examples of enterprise environmental factors which cannot be changed, and they are government standards, industry standards or regulations, organizational culture and structure. Like for example, which company we work for, they have an organizational culture and structure. We cannot go in and as PMs or project managers and try to change it. We have to live with it. Then we have marketplace conditions. Now we cannot change the marketplace conditions, right? So all these enterprise environmental factors are something that we don't have any power over, and we have to live with it. On the other hand, when it comes to organizational process assets, they are organizations' standard processes, organizational templates, historical informations, lesson learned documents. Now all these environmental factors and organizational process assets are with respect to developing the project charter. You will see a lot of inputs as enterprise environmental factors and organizational process, but that is with respect to the process that we are in. So these factors and these assets are with respect to developing the project charter. Okay, so these were the 5 inputs again, is project statement of work, business case, agreements, enterprise environmental factors, and organizational process assets. You should know what are these, what are the examples of these, because develop project charter is one of the only 2 processes from the initiating process. So you have to expect at least 7 to 8 questions coming out of just this process. Okay, now let's jump to the tools and techniques for developing the project charter. Basically, what are the tools and techniques? Tools and techniques are some types of techniques that we use to develop the project charter. Same thing goes with the inputs. All these 5 inputs are needed to develop the project charter. So we take these inputs, We apply the tools and techniques, and what we get as an output is the project charter. So this is how every process is made. You start with inputs, all the documents and stuff that is needed to make that particular process. Then we apply the tools and techniques, and then we achieve what we wanted out of that process, which is the project charter. Okay, so let's see the tools and techniques, which are two. One is expert judgment, and the second one is facilitation techniques. Now, to develop the project charter, we need people who are experts in that project. And the experts could be consultants that we plan to hire for this project, the stakeholders, including customers or sponsors who are directly affected by this project, the professional and technical associations, if there are, with respect to that project, then industry groups, subject matter experts, also called as SMEs, and project management office. So we need expert judgment as a tool and technique to develop the project charter. Now, what's the other tool and technique? The other tool and technique is facilitation technique. What does facilitation technique do? They guide the development of the project charter, how we are going to develop the project charter. So everyone sits in together, they brainstorm how we're going to make the project charter, what all is going to be part of the project charter, how are we going to resolve conflict when there is any conflict, how are we going to solve problems if there are any problems during this project. And management meetings are techniques used by facilitators to help team accomplish project activities. So facilitation techniques and expert judgments, these two tools are used in a lot of different processes. Okay, now let's jump to the only output in this process, which is obviously the project charter. Now, why is this the only output? Because we are working on developing the project charter. So what we get out of this whole process is the project charter. Now again, a lot of questions based on this. What is in the project charter? So what the project charter, which is an output, is basically what? It's basically a document that you can hold. Most of the outputs that you see in all the processes are like a document that you can hold. Like the project management plan is a document that you can hold. Then you have some deliverables, the informations. All these are documents that are outputs. These are actions, you could say, and some tools and techniques that you would have to perform to get the final document. So what does the project charter has? It has the project purpose or justification. And where did that come from? It came from the business case. It has measurable project objectives and related success criteria. It has high level requirements. That is important. See, high level. It has high level project description of what we are going to have in the project. What is the project all about? So everyone in the team knows what this project is about. It has high level risks. Even before the project has started, we will have some high level anticipated risks. It has summary milestone schedule. If the project is big, we are going to split it in different phases, right? We are going to give different milestones of accomplishment with respect to the time. Then a summary budget, as in how much is it approximately going to cost us, how much is approximately going to take the time. Project approval requirements, how is the project going to be approved. Then during the project charter, developing the project charter, we will assign the project manager project manager is assigned, the project charter will also have the name and authority of the sponsor or other persons authorizing the project charter. Now that's another question. Who authorizes the project charter? Most probably it's always the sponsor. What happens if there is any change to the project charter? Who has authority to change it? Is it the project manager or project charter? It's always, is it the project manager or is it the project sponsor? It is always the project sponsor. Okay, so that takes care of the first process in project integration management. Now we jump to the next process, which is develop project management plan. And if you go and look over here, it's in the orange color. What does that mean? That means it is in the planning process group. Develop project management plan. So this process is the first process of the planning process out of the 24 processes that belong to the planning process group. We have a total of 4 inputs, 2 tools and techniques, and 1 output. Inputs to develop the project management plan are the project charter, which we got from right here, which is from the initiating group, which is the first process in project integration management. Then we have outputs from other processes. Now the output from other processes are all the 24 processes that we have in the planning group. So we have output from here, outputs from collect requirements, output from plan scope management, output from plan quality management. Then we have the outputs from other processes, and we have enterprise environmental factors, and we have organizational process assets with respect to developing the project management plan. So those are the 4 inputs. Any changes to these documents in the planning process groups may necessitate updates to the project management plan. So you make any changes down there in any of the project management plans or the subsidiary plans will have to be updated. Now let's see what are the environmental factors related to the project management plan. Again, they are similar to the ones that we saw before. They are government or industry standards which we cannot change or modify. We have the project management information system that the company uses. We have the company or organizational structure, culture, how the company manages and practices project management, the infrastructure, and personal administration. On the other hand, we have the organizational process assets with respect to the project management plan, which are standardized guidelines, work instructions, proposal evaluation techniques, and performance measurement criteria. We even have all the templates with respect to developing the project management plan that we can use. We have change control procedures that we need to follow, project files from previous projects, because the company has done previous projects, so we use the project files from the previous projects, and they are part of the organizational process assets, historical information, and lessons learned from the knowledge base of the company, configuration management knowledge base. So these are all the different organizational processes. So you have to know with examples what are enterprise environmental factors, what are organizational process assets. So don't confuse between these two, because they are the inputs to a lot of different processes that we have. Mainly these cannot be changed, and these are always updated and modified with respect to the project. Now, to develop the project management plan, we have two tools and techniques similar to the ones that we had in this one, which is expert judgment and facilitation techniques. Expert judgment, there are consultants, stakeholders, customers, sponsors, technical and professional associations, industry group, subject matter experts, and the project management office. The different techniques for producing the project management plan are brainstorming, conflict resolution, problem solving, and meeting managements are techniques which are used by facilitators to help team accomplish project activities. Now we'll be going a lot more in detail as to what is brainstorming and what is conflict resolution, how do we solve the problems in the different processes below. Now the only output in the developed project management plan is obviously the only document that comes out, which is the project management plan. Now, what does the project management plan include? It includes the schedule baseline, the cost performance baseline, and the scope baseline. And what are these baselines? These are set limitations as to how much time it should take for this project, how much should this project cost, and what is the scope of this project. Any change with respect to this would change the deadline, would change the ending of the project, would change the cost of the project, and it might end up in project failure. So it is important. What does the project management baselines include? You should know is schedule baseline, cost performance baseline, and scope baseline. Now, the project management plan even includes subsidiary plans, which are the scope management plan, requirement management plan, schedule management plan, cost management plan, quality management plan, process improvement plan as to how we are going to improve the process, human resource plan, communications management plan, risk management plan, procurement management plan. Now, all these are coming from where? All these are coming from the outputs of all your planning process. You see over here? So you see a scope management plan. Now this is output of plan scope management. Now if you go down more, you will see, if I go to the next knowledge area, I will see plan schedule management. So what is an output of this? The output is schedule management plan. Now these are all subsidiary plans of the project management plan. So project management plan is not just one document. It has all the plans associated in the planning process group. Okay, so you should know all these different subsidiary plans. Again, they come from all the 24 different processes that are underneath this one. Now let's go to the third process in the project integration management knowledge area. Now the third process is direct and manage project execution. So it talks about how we are going to direct the project and how we are going to manage and execute it. Execute the whole project. So what are the inputs that we will need for direct and manage project execution process? We have 4 inputs. One is project management plan. And now where did we get the project management plan from? We got it from the previous process, from right here.